So let's look at this a little bit closely. I just want to show you, like, let's say we want to do a house this time. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a house here. Now, looking around like the Cheney Area Heights area, a house is about $200,000. Like a first starter home is around $200,000. So if I put 200,000 here, I know I'm going to have a lot, right? So you can see I'm getting pound signs because my numbers are increasing. I'm going to increase the size of this column and that'll bring them in. Now, generally what they want you to do for a down payment is about 10%. Okay, so we can put in a number here or we can turn this into a calculation. So I'm going to go ahead and put an equal sign. And I'm going to take my original price and multiply it by 10% so I can know what I would need to bring for a down payment. So I would want to buy a house for $200,000. I would need to bring a down payment of $20,000. It's a lot of money to have saved up, right? And so I'd be getting a loan for 180. Let's say the interest rate is around 3.5%. That's that's a lot, pretty normal right now post COVID or with COVID. They're actually a lot lower, but I've seen them skyrocket up to like 5 or 6%. But normally, when you have a loan for a minimum of around 20 years for your first loan. Now you can go less, 5, 15, 10. But for that first starter home, you're probably going to get a loan for around 20 or maybe even 30 years. 30 is actually the average length of a home loan. So we're going to put in 30 years here. When you do that and you spread that payment over 30 years, you'll see this $3,000 that we'd be paying every month if we only had this loan for 5 years will spread out to be about $808 for a monthly payment every month. And that's not bad. I mean, if you look at it, you look at a monthly income where you're making around 2 to 3 grand a month, you would be spending about a third of it on your home, and that's okay, right? You never want to spend more than like a third of your income or more than definitely half your income on your home. You'll be overspending at that point. So just kind of keep that in mind. Around a third of your income is probably going to be spent on your home when you're buying. Now, think about renting, right? You may be like, well, why would I buy when I know that a $200,000 home is going to cost me $310,000 in the end? Well, when you're renting, where's your $808 going every month? It's going in the trash can essentially because you have no investment. You have nothing to get out. Now, if you buy a home and you live in that home for years and years and years, and then you go to sell it, will it still only be worth $200,000? Historically, no, it'll be worth more. And it might even be worth more than the 110 you paid on home. If you sat in that home for a long time, it might be worth more than $310,000, especially right now with the area what we live in and how it's growing. Our housing market is skyrocketing. So I bought my first home 6 years ago. It was $170,000. It's now worth $280,000. I've made back the money I would owe. If you think about it, I've made back that investment and more. So if I stay in the home for longer, it's just going to go up usually. That's historically what happens. So what I think is really important about loans, and even though it looks like, hey, I'd be paying out a butt ton of money, over the course of the loan, yeah, but if you're investing in something like a home, it's going to go up in value. Now, if you're investing in a car, just be aware that the interest that you're paying is probably money out of your pocket, right? But who has 10 grand just sitting around or 20 grand just sitting around, right? So keep that and factor that into the cost of the car because cars just depreciate in value and go down in value. But let's look at this. Like, let's say you take your years and you decrease it. You know you can pay $808 and you could pay probably a little bit more. If you decrease the number of years you're paying it to 20 and hit enter, you're going to be paying only $200 more per month, $240-ish per month, and you'd be saving $30,000. It's amazing how when you let them charge less interest over, like you have given them less time to charge interest, that means you're going to be saving yourself some money. So all these factors factor into it. If you brought more to the table right off the bat than 10%, you would have less interest you're owing and all those kinds of things. So loans aren't bad. You just need to understand them and you really need to calculate that overall cost. You need to know what's it actually going to cost you in the end, not what's it going to look like at the beginning, because it's a big difference.